Hello everyone, I'm Tom Bevan, co-founder and president of RealClearPolitics. Welcome to this edition of RCP's Poll Position, where we interview pollsters from around the country. We're pleased to be joined today by Ann Selzer, who is the president of Selzer Company and the pollster for the Des Moines Register, which is considered the gold standard in Iowa. And obviously, we just finished the Iowa caucuses. Ann, welcome. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Just for the record, it's the Des Moines Register for the caucuses, NBC News, Mediacom Iowa Poll.
Okay, and so another one finally in the books. The build-up to this one was as usual. I mean, it happens every 4 years. I always tell people it's like the Olympics, the political Olympics. And so give me your sense. Obviously, in looking at our RealClearPolitics average and the polls that we had, the pollsters did a pretty good job, all things considered, in terms of estimating the final result here. Give me your thoughts on that final vote, and did it come out exactly as you thought it would?
Well, it depends. I'm a pollster, so I look at not only the top line, but I look deeper into the data to see if I can see any signals about whether that top line will hold or whether there are things to be on the lookout for that could affect the ultimate outcome. And that's what happened with this poll. Our top line showed a small leap for Nikki Haley into standing alone for second choice, followed by Ron DeSantis, who fell a bit from and lost some of the advantage he had gained for second place. But if you dive into the data, it was pretty clear to me, and I think we said it, NBC said it, the Register said it multiple times, that Nikki Haley's second position was on shaky ground, that it was fragile, that there were signs that either the turnout wouldn't be as great as for the others, coupled with ridiculously cold weather even for Iowa here, and that's what happened. So I feel fine about our poll. I think it did what we wanted it to do, which was tell the story about what was happening and why.
I was going to ask you, so turnout was down. I think most people expect it was 110, roughly 110,000, which was below the 2016 levels. When you conducted this poll, you didn't know what the weather was going to be, did you? Like, how did you go about estimating what you thought turnout was going to be?
I don't estimate what turnout is going to be.
So you just simply take the results. You're not waiting for anything.
What would I wait to? I don't. That's such an interesting question, and I don't mean to be cheeky about it, but I call my method of polling forward, and by that I mean I want to collect data in a way that it will reveal to me what is likely to happen in the future. So I don't look backward. I don't care what turnout has been in the past. I don't look at the demographics that they've been in the past in order to presume that that's what would happen in the future. So I don't need to know what the turnout is going to be. And I don't need to guess at what the turnout might be. And my data don't really reveal to me turnout. They reveal to me more what the ranking will likely be.
And so you also had Trump at 48. He finished at 51. This is roughly right there. But did his strength surprise you? Did you expect him to win every single county except for one, which he lost, I think, by one vote? That seemed to be, I mean, it was an overwhelming victory for Trump sort of across the board.
But we had seen this consistently. I can't say that we did a county by county breakout because we polled 400, 500, and then 700 people. So we're not going to be able to dive to the county level. But on every metric, Donald Trump far outperformed all of the rest of the cast of characters. His mind made up number was always much stronger. His enthusiasm number was always much stronger. The commitment to caucus was much stronger. He was just a champion, really, in every way. And the other two candidates of the top three paled in comparison.
And so one last question about Iowa, and then I want to ask you, sort of looking forward more broadly, New Hampshire and some of these other national polls, about the caucuses themselves, right? What is it that makes the trying to poll caucus goers unique and in some ways more difficult, obviously, than just polling a straight primary?
It's that turnout number for sure. That is, if you only have 100,000 people who show up out of the, what, 2 million people who are registered voters in Iowa, and this is why the way we do caucus polling is so expensive. You're trying to find that needle in a haystack. And there are some polling organizations that take some shortcuts. So maybe they get a list of people who have caucused previously before, and they rely on that to be the core of who's going to caucus in the future. Of course, that's you're going to get more people who meet your criteria as a likely caucus goer proportionately than what I do. But I don't think, especially when people are bringing in first-time caucus goers, you're going to miss them. And if they're different, then you're going to miss the dynamics that they bring to the party.
So, Ann, talk a little bit about enthusiasm and how that plays into the process.
Well, this I felt was really a key story that came out of our poll. We asked respondents to tell us for their first choice candidate, are you extremely enthusiastic? Are you very enthusiastic? Are you mildly enthusiastic? Or you're not that enthusiastic? So a 4-point scale, top 2 boxes, very, bottom 2 boxes, not so much. Donald Trump's number for extremely enthusiastic was 49%. Ron DeSantis's number for people who chose him as their first choice was 23%. So not even half as many as Donald Trump got proportionately. Nikki Haley was 9%. So not even half of Ron DeSantis's number, let alone Donald Trump's number. And that led me to work through my data in ways that I might not have thought about to do otherwise, to see, well, how is it these people who are choosing Nikki Haley as their first choice, why are the majority of them mildly enthusiastic or not that enthusiastic? And first of all, that tells you something. If turnout is low, she may not do so well. She would need to turn out those low enthusiasm voters. But secondly, she does much better with people. She's drawing people who are currently registered as independent, or were until yesterday, or even Democrats. And so if you're a Democrat and you're going to the Republican caucus, you're probably going with some agenda in mind, and it's easy, and we've got other data we stitched together to say that's an anti-Trump vote.
Right.
But you're casting your vote for a Republican, so how enthusiastic would you expect them to be? It didn't mean they weren't committed to going, but it also suggested that was a little shakiness in her underlying support. So when Ron DeSantis was declared the second place last night, I'd said that out loud many times, that Ron DeSantis may end up in second place.
And you mentioned first-time caucus goers. Do we have any data after the fact that says how many of these folks were first-time caucus goers, how many folks were, in fact, Democrats who registered? I know at the caucus that I was at in Johnson County, I was told there were a number of Democrats that showed up in that caucus and ended up, as you said, voting for Nikki Haley. I wonder, my take on that was that it was probably going to be marginal, just on the margins. It wouldn't be a huge mover for her, but I don't know. Do we have any data on that?
Well, here's a little bit of the problem. We don't have it today as we sit here. The entrance poll, which I didn't even know, I had looked to see if there was going to be an entrance poll, but I was unaware until I started seeing results last night. So we'll have a chance to dig through that. But they would have asked people walking in to this Republican Party event, what do you consider yourself? And so that's a flawed circumstance to get your party ID, because you're walking into a Republican event. You're going to have to declare yourself to be a Republican. So even if you're Democrat, you might hesitate to say you're not a Republican. But we'll be able to figure that out. And the Secretary of State's voter list can be analyzed in a month or so to show what proportion of people change their registration. It will not tell us, because it's not a state government election. It's not going to tell us who the caucus goers were, but we'll be able to see if people sort of deduce some things.
Let me ask you to take off your pollster hat, I guess, and put on your pundit hat for a minute and talk about what these results from Iowa mean moving forward, in your opinion. Is what happened last night, is that enough for Ron DeSantis to somehow make his case, or for Nikki Haley to somehow surge and make it a race in New Hampshire? Or do you think Trump's victory was of such a magnitude that it's going to blunt any of that kind of momentum that candidates can traditionally get coming out of Iowa with a second or sometimes even third place finish?
I tend to be very data driven, and I try to be very disciplined about what I might speculate about. What I will say is that we've seen interesting things happen. We mostly see it, in the final week leading up to the caucus, and then what follows that, it's really on the shoulders of the campaigns and the candidates to take what happened, learn from it, right? And then figure out how to adapt if they need to, and make a better case in the case of Haley and DeSantis, or keep momentum going, because people may think it's a foregone conclusion that Donald Trump is going to get the nomination, and that might lead to people moving on and paying attention to something else.
All right, I tried.
You tried.
Okay.
You have to remember, I've seen strange things happen. I've seen Rick Santorum come out of nowhere and win the caucus from having, mid-single digit support, and then he won. So
yes,
I'm careful.
So let me ask you a question about Iowa. Again, you've been doing this a long time. And the state has changed rather dramatically over the last few cycles. I mean, remember in 2000, it was decided by a couple thousand votes. It was truly a 50-50 swing state, but has moved pretty dramatically in the Republican direction over the last couple cycles, I think particularly since Donald Trump arrived on the scene. Talk a little bit about the shifting political wins in the state of Iowa.
Yeah, it's very dramatic, because Iowa was legitimately a purple state, a swing state, a battleground state. And all of the candidates, even after the caucuses, paid a lot of attention to our measly 6 electoral votes, because sometimes it would come down to a measly 6 electoral votes. So when Barack Obama won the general election here in Iowa, I color-code a map of the counties, and it was almost half and half, blue and red. And in 2012, it was almost half and half, blue and red. By the time Hillary Clinton ran 8 years later, she only won 6 counties. And possibly it's even 5. She only won the metro counties. So the map is a sea of red with a few blue dots on it. And at the same time, our Washington delegation was losing its Democrats, and it is now completely Republican. Our state house, both houses, are supermajority Republican. Every statewide elected official, save one, the state auditor, is a Republican. So there's no metric you could use that would say Iowa still has a chance to be a swing state, a purple state. It doesn't look like it.
And I mean, what is it, do you think, that has driven that? I mean, obviously there's been one of the big splits that we've seen emerge over the last couple cycles is there's the rural-urban divide. There's the, college educated versus non-college educated. I mean, what is it? Is it just a combination of all those factors, or what in your mind is the real driver of that change?
Since I moved to Iowa, I've heard about the rural-urban divide. This is one of the most commonly cited things. And yet the rural population is shrinking and the urban population is growing. So it can't really say as much as one might hope. I think the very simplistic answer, and yet there's more to it, is that Republicans win more elections. So how do they do that? They do that, just common sense would tell you, they've got candidates that people want to vote for. And the one observation I will make is that the Democrats don't seem to be cultivating their bench with as much aggressiveness as the Republicans have done. So there's some questions about party leadership and what it is that they're doing to try to win back some of these seats.
All right, well, we will leave it there. Ann Selzer, president of Selzer Company, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And that'll do it for this edition of RCP Pole Position. I'm Tom Bevan, co-founder and president of RealClearPolitics. Thanks for watching.